it comes to preserve the ownership, the self-ownership, or the money, and what it can buy and what can be owned by it. Now, when Sharia tells that it is okay to die to protect your religion, because religion is more important than life, but it is not okay to die to get money, because money is after the life. Now that can explain certain behaviors in the Muslim society, which probably can act as a decoder in your mind, who living away from the culture who does not understand the basic understanding of the culture to its constitution. That's why I was trying to explain how do we look to ourselves, and that's why I explained with a little bit of details the constitution. At this point, and before going to the third area, I would like to summarize what I was been talking about in the past minutes. As I said, I was giving a message to the American citizen, ordinary American citizen, about my perspective of the understanding of my culture, and I was explaining 3 areas: basic fact, and I said there that we understand and feel. Second area, how do we look to ourselves, and I explained our understanding to time and our constitution. And the third area is how do we look to the other cultures, particularly how do we look to your culture. This is going to be the third and the final area, which I will discuss it in my message to you, dear American. And I think that the discussion of this particular area is somewhat sensitive. But as I said, I want to be frank and spontaneous and truthful. So I hope that I can navigate well while discussing this rather sensitive issues. Before going into these issues, please remember that I am not trying to convince you that I am right, neither I'm trying to prove that I'm not wrong. Vice versa, I'm not saying that there are wrong attitudes in your culture. This is beside the point. I'm not trying here to prove who is right and who is wrong, and who has better and who has less. This is not the point. This is just beside the point, and I stress on that. It's important for me to say that because I don't want the listener to feel offended by a different point of view, and I don't want to create a conflict by this message. I am stating, and here I'm repeating myself again and again, my perspective of my understanding to the ordinary, educated American citizen, without any intention to prove who is right or who is wrong from both sides. Actually speaking, and as a matter of fact, our culture vary greatly in the way it looks to the American culture. Some in our culture view the American culture or the American nation as one thing. When they see the American astronaut on the surface of the moon, when they see the advanced technology, when they see the aircrafts, and when they see the computers, they think that every single American can produce a computer, can walk on the surface of the moon, and can deal with an aircraft or with an airplane carrier, i.e., all Americans are genius. From the same perspective, when they see the back street in some American cities with drugs, crime, prostitution, and so on and so forth, they have the impression that every American is as such. There are some in our culture who think this way. The more people educated, the more the individual in the culture is educated about the variety that can be present in one culture, the more they realize the fact. And I guess that depends very much on the media that transmit the impression directly or indirectly to the mind of the ordinary people. I remember when I went to Japan for my studies, and I stayed there for about 13 or 14 months, and that was my second time going to Japan. After I had the visa on my passport, the lady in the reception said, "Doctor?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Have you been to Japan before?" And I said, "Yes." And she told me, "What do you think about Japanese?" So as sort of a gesture, I told her that they're a nice people and they're always smiling. And she said, "Well, I want to tell you something which is very important." And I asked her, "Please tell me." And she said, "Japanese are human. Some of them good, some of them bad. And there are a lot of bad people in Japan. So consider that." That conversation went on for about 3 minutes, and I was very much surprised why she said that, and she is in a diplomatic embassy. After a while, I realized that she did a good for her country, much more than if she gave a fake, all good appearance. She put me in a realistic attitude, actually a little bit towards the negative. So it allowed me to conclude more positive things. The American media, and particularly Hollywood, via its movies, is giving extreme impression about the American culture. It's giving the impression of Rambo, the impression of heroes, all goods, or vice versa.